The car sped up through the quiet evening street, the headlights cutting harsh line across the pavement. Jungkook sat in the back seat, his eyes glued to the photograph, trembling in his hands. The vehicle was moving fast, too fast for comfort, but not fast enough for the rage boiling in his veins. He wanted to get there. He wanted to confront her. He wanted his pain to have a target. The photo was slightly worn, creased from being too tightly for too long. In it was a boy. A small boy, no older than 5, dark, slightly messy hair, big curious brown eyes, and a dimple that made Jungkook's entire world collapse in on itself. He had that smile. He had his smile. No, he muttered, voice so low it was more breath than sound. You didn't. You wouldn't. The longer he stared at the photo, the heavier it felt in his hand, like it was made of lead, not paper. The car swerved a little too hard, but he didn't react. Instead, he squeezed his eyes shut, failing to hold back the road in his chest. Betrayal, shock, a grief that felt brand new, like it has just been born, raw, violent, and alive. His breathing was uneven, like his body couldn't decide whether screaming and collapsing. The driver glanced nervously in the rearview mirror. He didn't dare to say a word. Jungkook, faster. One command, cold, final. The driver obeyed. The screeched engine growled lower. Inside the mansion, the air was still warm and peaceful. Vine stood barefoot in the kitchen, humming softly under her bed, stirring a pot on the stove with gentle, methodical movements. The smell of simmering stew filled the air, something comforting, something domestic, a scene that radiated calm. A maid stood beside the counter, slicing vegetable with quiet precise. The soft thud of the knife against the board was rhythmic, almost therapeutic. The kitchen light was golden, the windows open just a little but to let the breeze in. There was no tension, no fear, no awareness. Vine smiled faintly, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She had no idea that the clock had started ticking down, no idea that her world, so carefully built on slice and secret, was about to collapse. Screech. The car came to a brutal stop before the engine even died. Jungkook was out, slamming the door behind him so hard that the window shook. His boots struck the marble steps with fury. He did not ring the bell. He didn't knock. He kicked the door open. Slam. Wood crashed against the wall. The sound echoed through the walls like a warning shot. Wine jumped, her hand flying to her chest. The maid gasped, dropping the knife. Maid, miss? But Wine was already moving, stepping out of the kitchen in alarm. Her brows furrowed, her lips parting as she called out, Jungkook. And then she saw him. He was standing in the foyer like he didn't belong in this world, like he had walked straight out of the war. His chest rose and fell with unsteady breaths, his eyes, oh his eyes burning. And his hand crumpled, clenched was the photo. Her heart dropped, time slowed. He looked at her with as if she was a stranger. Who is he? His voice was low, too calm, too controlled. The kind of calm that came right before something exploded. She didn't move, didn't speak. Her lips parted, but no sound came. You blinked once, twice. She had seen Jungkook upset before. She had seen him walk into the house blood-soaked and dread-eyed after long, brutal nights. But this wasn't grief. This wasn't exhaustion. This was something else, something darker, something more personal, and it was all directed at you. Her lips parted again, a whisper caught somewhere in her throat. She took a small step forward, voice soft, unsure. Jungkook, what's going on? But he didn't answer. Instead, he just raised the photo higher, like an accusation, like a weapon. His hands were shaking, not with fury, but with something else, something more vulnerable and raw that cut deeper than anger. A boy, a small boy, not older than 5, just messy curls, wide brown eyes, a cute little smile, so innocent, so pure. It was a smile she hadn't seen in years. Her heart dropped into her stomach. For a single moment, her body went cold. cold. Her breath caught in her chest, choking her, and for the brief instant the world around her stopped moving. No, this cannot be happening. It can't be. Her gaze flicked at Jungkook's face, then back to the photo. It felt like the ground beneath her was shifting, tearing apart. Her hands felt numb, her heart thundering in her chest. He couldn't know, he shouldn't know, but the fury in his eyes, the raw pain, told her everything she needed to know. He knew. Somehow he knew. Her breath quickened, but she kept her gaze fixed on the photo, her mind scrambling, desperate to make the sense of the moment. She wasn't sure what was worse, the fact that Jungkook had found the photo, or the sickening truth that he had found out. Her eyes glanced again, this time looking for something to hold on, something that would tell her that maybe, just maybe, she was wrong. But no, the photo was still there, staring back at her, as if mocking her, exposing the lie she had thought she could bury forever. Her thoughts raced, spinning wildly. How? How can he find it? But he couldn't let herself dwell on that, not when the truth was standing right in front of her. She turned her head slightly, her eyes starting down, trying to avoid the full weight of what she had done. She didn't want to look at the boy, didn't want to face what she had kept hidden, but the photo, like a magnet, pulled her eyes back. It was all she could see now. Her chest tightened, panic clawed to her throat. Her hands trembled, barely be able to hold herself together. She wanted to speak, to explain, but the words wouldn't come. How could she explain? How could she make him understand? She glanced at Jungkook again. His eyes were intense, a storm of confusion, betrayal, and hurt. He didn't need to ask. He didn't need to speak. His gaze told her everything. I know you have been hiding something. I know the truth. And at that instant, Wine realized, no matter what she said, she could never take back what was already broken between them. His finger gripped the photograph so tightly the edge began to curl between the pressure. Who is this? His voice was calm, too calm, hard, cold, sharp enough to cut skin. It wasn't the volume that scared you, it was the stillness, the deadly calm before a storm you could already feel building behind his eyes. Your breath hitched. You couldn't speak because how could you? How do you put years of betrayal into a sentence? Your chest tightened as your hands subconsciously wrapped around your waist. As if trying to hold yourself together, you looked down for a moment, avoiding his eyes, unable to face the full weight of what you have done. It wasn't a threat, it wasn't even demand, it was a promise, a truth, a sentence passed. The cold finality in his tone made your stomach drop. You looked up and at him, and for the first time in years, you were truly afraid of him. Not because he would hurt you, but because he was breaking. You took a step forward, a fragile step, and looked up into his eyes. They were cold, but behind them a storm raged, a storm you created. Jungkook, you swallowed hard. I was scared. That's why I. Scared. His voice cracked lightning, cold, sharp, dangerous. You were scared. That's what you are going with? His brows furrowed, a twisted mix of disbelief and fury shaping his face. For a second, just for a second, everything went still. Jungkook's jaw clenched, and but with a flicker in his eyes. No more room for denial, no more space for breath. The light inside his chest dimmed as the truth set in, and then it exploded. With a swift, furious motion, he turned and sent the lamp on the side table flying. It shattered against the wall, the sharp crash piercing through the air like a scream. He didn't look at the mess, didn't even blink. His eyes were still on you. Fury, betrayal, heartbreak, tangled all at once. I believed you, he yelled. I loved you, and this is what I get in return. Your breath caught. You look up, your eyes bleeding. No, Jungkook, please. You don't understand. Shut up. He didn't even let you finish. You took my child away from me, my son, and now you stand there saying I don't understand. His voice cracked, shattered at the edges. You knew, Ryan. You damn well knew that children meant to me. You knew I'd die before letting harm come to him. You knew I'd give up everything. He stepped closer, fire burning in his eyes. And you used that against me? His voice dropped, dead cold. Jungkook, I could have trusted my enemies over you. The last line, that one destroyed you. You didn't breathe. You didn't blink. You could not. He wasn't just the boy's real father. He was John Jungkook. And he didn't ask twice. Jungkook glanced into the rearview mirror. The boy was white, wide eyes looking out of the window, then slowly towards him, studying, observing. The boy looked up at him, unsure, small, still trying to understand. Jungkook crouched down to eye level, slowly kicked gently as if he's trying not to scare him away. Jungkook's gaze pierced through you, cold, distant, unfamiliar, like a stranger, like a man who has once loved you but barely recognized your face. Your lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. Your eyes stared at him, no, through him, because everything around you was beginning to blur, the walls, the hall, even the floor beneath your feet. You slowly blinked, coming back to reality. The surroundings sharpened, the chandelier above you creaked on the floor beneath Jungkook's feet, the soft ticking of the clock, and him. You swallowed, but your throat felt like sandpaper. Still, you repeated it. Why? I said, why did you bring him here? Don't you dare say that, you yelled, voice full of years of pain, secret, and love. That had never stopped. I had my reasons. It never because I didn't love you or Minho. You stepped forward, hands shaking, tears skimming from your cheeks. Then a soft knock. He strengthened instantly, his bloodshot eye darting towards the door. The maid peeked in gently, her expression cautious. Behind the door stood Minho, small, uncertain. Your eyes welled up, spilling over with the truth you have buried for years. But I'm terrified of the wall we are in. Jungkook's gaze flickered, his breathing catching slightly at your words. You could have at least told me how you felt, told me what was going on in your heart. You exhaled shakily, your hands clenched in your lap, as if nothing yourself together. Your voice trembled as you held back a soft, I saved him the only way I knew how. Your body trembled with fresh tears as you grabbed onto his shirt. I'm sorry to Jungkook, but we couldn't communicate properly. That I let fear get in the way. I'm sorry for everything. You held him close, this time with relief soaking your soul. Jungkook pressed a kiss on the top of Minho's head and his hand resting protectively over both of you. He nodded, hugging you back, but before you could pull away, he reached out into his pocket again and handed you another document. You blinked confused. What is? You look at it, he said gently. You both looked at him. Jungkook opened his arm wide, and without a second thought, Minu ran into the embrace. He squeezed between the two of you, wrapping his tiny arms around your legs. You leaned down, pulling him up in your arms. Jungkook held both of you tightly, and for the first time in your chaotic world, you finally had everything you needed: a home, a heart, and a family.